Well, specifically, Madame LaLaurie was a torturer and murderer who exclusively targeted the enslaved people who involuntarily served her and her family, and did so in a half-hidden torture chamber right next to the servants' quarters within her mansion at 1140 Royal Street.
It's a beautiful street. Beautiful house.
It is. It's foreboding.
Yeah.
LaLaurie's motivations for such crimes, however, are still somewhat of a mystery to this day, or at the very least, they don't have a neat explanation, like many ghost stories do. Because again, this really is, it's a true crime story, it's a ghost story, it's a history story, it's all of it wrapped up into one. Some legends say that LaLaurie's parents were killed in a slave uprising decades prior, and she avenged their deaths by torturing and killing the closest approximations at hand, much like a serial killer will choose a type based on a personal hatred or betrayal.
Which is mostly the time we know that is mostly not true either.
Also,
Yeah, but she's considered a serial killer, right?
I don't know. Well, I
don't know. She lives in a very strange section of, murderer.
And crime.
Yeah.
Just straight up crime.
Yeah.
Against humanity.
But the slave uprising is but one of the myths surrounding Madame LaLaurie.
Honestly, sometimes I think of her, she's closer to a Mangala.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Well, most likely, she tortured and killed the enslaved people in her thrall for the same reason most serial killers torture and kill people. She was a sadist who derived pleasure from the act, and she had a steady supply of vulnerable victims that the authorities couldn't have cared less about. So yeah, I think she was a little closer to a serial killer.
Yeah.
In Madame LaLaurie's case, her victims could literally be delivered to her house to do with whatever she wished, although as we'll see, there were even limits to what most people would accept within the foul institution of American slavery.
And we'll see, and this is our opportunity right now to say straight up top, we're not into it.
Not into it.
No.
Well, I don't approve of slavery.
My family was in Poland.
Me too, man. We dropped it in fucking 1925 Staten Island, baby.
Yeah, baby.
I had nothing to do with this.
I'm going to plead the fifth. Go ahead and plead a big,
Teflon, baby.
plead a big fifth right now. Now, while most serial killer dens like John Wayne Gacy's home in Des Plaines and Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment building in Milwaukee, those were torn down after it was discovered that the structures were true houses of horror. But Madame LaLaurie's home is still standing in the French Quarter.
Oh, yeah. Like a big, scary guy with loaded pants. Like, it really does feel like... And again, it's because you know the story, but as you walk past that place, man, it does feel like it just looms.
Yeah.
It looms, because it's bigger than any other house on the block.
Yeah.
And then it used to have the Verdi Mart across the street, which was like the best fucking po' boy sandwich spot in the entire city. Yeah. And then several times I had big sloppy shrimp po' boys sitting on that corner just staring at that house for hours at a time.
Yeah.
The only haunted house I've been to in New Orleans is the House of Blues.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and it's only haunted by exceptional deals and the incredible licks of John Frusciante.
While the house has been renovated many times over since Madame LaLaurie's day, the bones of her mansion remain the same.
The bones!
The pain and suffering inflicted within these walls have soaked the home with so much paranormal energy that even standing across the street can fill you with a sense of dread and terror. In fact, many people in the paranormal community in New Orleans, which is ample.
Oh, it's thick as hell.
They wouldn't even enter the LaLaurie Mansion if they could, for fear that the energies contained therein might prove too much to bear.
And that's why we also, big shout out always to French Quarter Phantoms, which is still probably the platinum tier of ghost tours that I have taken across the United States of America. They are fucking great, but those guys know how to tell a story, especially about the LaLaurie Mansion, because we pressed. I was like, I gotta go in there. Like, what can we do? I try to be like, let's figure it out. And the guy fucking just straight up said, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't go.
Yeah.
I don't go in there.
Well, no one can go in there.
Well, there are, one of the authors of these books, I believe it was the Carolyn Morrow, she did get to go inside. And people fucking, Jack Osborne went inside.
Of course he did.
Have you listened to have you watched his Portal to Hell show?
No. Who gives a shit?
I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to run into him, but it's just, the show is, I don't know why. Why do they keep giving him paranormal shows? Just go live, do anything else.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the Prince of Darkness.
He's not, though. His father is. He's
His father's the king now,
No,
right?
well, no, he's just very.
I mean, eventually he's gonna have to. Ozzy has to become the king at some point.
I don't think. You know what? I think Prince is kind of fun because you don't have all the responsibility. It's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
And maybe Jack Osborne is like a Duke of Shade.
Yeah, Dookie of fucking poo poo.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Barking at the moon.
Honestly, though, if you have an offer for us, Shaq, we'll take it.
Now, before we get into the ghost stories, as well as the facts and myths behind Madame LaLaurie, let's acknowledge our sources today. The first is Madame LaLaurie, Mistress of the Haunted House by Carolyn Morrow, while the second is Madame LaLaurie.
Yeah! This would just sound like a fucking wrestling woman.
Madame LaLaurie!
You gonna get that gumbo with yo twat!
It's just got like a fucking 2x4.
It's like a tag team with King Kong Bundy.
Yeah, big fucking. Yeah. God.
That one's by Victoria Cosner Love. And we also borrowed a couple of ghost stories from the website for Ghost City Tours in New Orleans. But while our first book is more dry, it's dry.
It is dry.
Not when Marcus was done with it, I'll tell you that.
Is it the tears? I was very, I read this book. You know what I appreciate about that book? Is that it goes example by example why we know the things that we know to be sure and not sure. But it is a fucking slog.
Yeah, but it's far more reliable when it comes to the actual history behind Madame LaLaurie. However, while the myths are legion, the truth is still a harrowing and fascinating tale.
Dude, because the exaggerations of the fake version of the story, you're like, all right. That's how I kind of feel reading it. But the fact that we know the fact that the shit that we know that happened is it's bad enough.
Oh, yeah. Now, few people are allowed within the LaLaurie home today because it's been a private residence for decades. But as I said, even those who stand on the New Orleans sidewalks outside of the LaLaurie Mansion report dizziness, nausea, chills, and feelings of anxiety.
Well, they're just not used to eating all that thick food.
That's the thing. And then they've been
there's all these cream sauces.
Oh, yeah. They've been walking for miles. Yeah.
I hadn't eaten all day. Was I hungover? Yes.
Yes.
But it was creepy.
It's creepy as fuck.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
Dude, it's creepy as fuck. You go over there,
Yeah. I mean, when we visited the LaLaurie Mansion years ago, just looking into the vestibule gave me the feeling that I was staring into the gaping maw of some earthly hell. The only feeling I could compare it to, it was like when we visited Auschwitz. It was like it's staring into a place of pain and misery, like it just fucking emanates from it.
2 out of 5 stars.
What, Auschwitz?
Yeah. Yeah, not fun.
What?
You know, Dr. Mangala, he puts the owl in Auschwitz. What do you think? Accurate?
Correct.
Very accurate.
Just the truth. Just the truth. Hidden inside the yuck.
Well, according to those who have been inside the house, moaning can be heard from the room where LaLaurie committed her tortures. The chain... the chains of her... See? The chains that her servants were forced to wear constantly can be heard dragging through the home, and phantom footsteps follow you everywhere. Concerning the standard paranormal fare, the area where LaLaurie's Chamber of Horrors was located is said to sometimes emit the rank odor of rotten meat often associated with particularly strong hauntings, and a dark, heavy energy persists almost 200 years after LaLaurie's reign of terror ended.
If it's gonna be anywhere, this is one of those places. If there's gonna be ghosts, if ghosts exist, this is where they are.
It's the spot. It's like here in castles.
Yeah.
Yes.
But while all those paranormal experiences obviously come from the victims, it's said that the house is also haunted by Madame LaLaurie herself.
She built that place hand by hand, brick by brick.
Mm-hmm. Or she
had people do it. She had people do it.
A spirit medium who was let into the house in 2005 claimed that LaLaurie's spirit pervades the entire block, as if she's still trying to keep control over her domain.
You keep yelling now! You keep yelling!